What would you do if someone looked you straight in the eye and took away money you'd already earned? Not money you hope to get. Not some vague promise, money that was sitting there, documented, approved, just waiting to hit your account. And then they had the nerve to call it a business decision. That's exactly what happened to me 3 months ago. The way I handled it probably saved me $250,000 and cost them a lot more than that. Let me tell you how this went down. I'm Ryan Mitchell, 54 years old, and I've been working in defense contracting for the last 11 years. Before that, I did 20 years in the Navy, so I know something about discipline, following protocols, and keeping my mouth shut when I need to. Those skills came in handy more than I expected. You know how they say military training never leaves you? It's true. In the Navy, we had a saying, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. It means when things get chaotic, you don't panic, you don't rush, you stick to your training and work the problems systematically. I learned that lesson managing sonar operations on a destroyer, making split-second decisions that could mean the difference between mission success and disaster. Same principle applies to corporate warfare, which is exactly what this turned into. I got to the office that Thursday morning around 7 a.m., same as always. Old habits die hard. In the Navy, we were up before dawn every day, and 20 years later, I still can't sleep past 6. The parking garage was mostly empty, just a few cars belonging to folks like me who show up before the chaos starts. I badged in, took the elevator to the 12th floor, and walked to my corner desk. Nothing fancy, just the same spot I'd been sitting at since I started at Blackstone Defense Systems back in 2013. I set down my coffee, black, another Navy habit, and opened my laptop. There it was, waiting like a time bomb. Calendar invite sent at 11:47 the night before. Subject line, Q2 performance review and compensation discussion scheduled for 10 a.m. that morning. Attendees: me, my direct supervisor Luis Rodriguez, and someone named Diana Walsh. I had to look her up in the company directory, VP of Finance. New hire, maybe 4 months with the company. Young, probably mid-30s, MBA from some prestigious school I'd never heard of. Her LinkedIn photo showed perfectly styled blonde hair and the kind of confident smile that made me immediately suspicious. In my experience, people who smile that much in business photos are usually planning something. I stared at that invite for a minute, and honestly, my gut told me this wasn't good news. You don't get pulled into a meeting with the VP of Finance on 12 hours notice unless something's happening. But I also knew my numbers. I'd closed Q2 strong, really strong actually. The kind of performance that should have earned me a pat on the back, not a surprise meeting with the money people. Let me give you some context here because it matters. Blackstone Defense Systems is a mid-size contractor, about 2,200 employees, specializing in secure communication platforms for military and government clients. Think encrypted messaging systems, secure video conferencing, classified data transmission, the kind of stuff that keeps our national security apparatus running smoothly. I manage security operations for their classified systems, which sounds fancy but basically means I'm the guy who makes sure our software actually works the way it's supposed to work when lives are on the line. When some Marine in Afghanistan needs to send classified intel back to headquarters, or when CIA operatives need secure communications in hostile territory, the systems I oversee better work perfectly every single time. Over the years, I've built out the entire security protocol from scratch. I designed the deployment process, created the clearance verification systems, trained the team. It took my military background in communications and signal intelligence and translated it into the corporate world. By 2024, I was overseeing security implementations for about 85 classified contracts, managing a team of 8 people, and personally handling the accounts that brought in around $14 million in annual recurring revenue. Those aren't small numbers. These were our anchor clients: Pentagon, CIA, NSA, various military branches, organizations that had been with us for years and weren't going anywhere as long as the systems stayed secure and reliable. When you're dealing with national security contracts, you don't just switch vendors because someone offered you a better price. You stick with what works, with people you trust. Back in 2017, when I'd been with the company for about 4 years, I'd negotiated what's called a retention agreement. Nothing crazy, just smart planning based on something I'd learned in the Navy. Always have an exit strategy, and always document everything. The agreement said that if the company ever went through a merger or acquisition, I'd get a retention bonus to make sure I stayed on through the transition. The logic was simple. I was the person who knew the classified systems inside and out, held the security clearances, knew all the protocols. I had relationships with procurement officers at the Pentagon who trusted me personally. Losing me during a merger would have been a disaster for continuity, and continuity is everything in government contracting. The bonus was structured as 18 months of my base salary plus additional percentages if certain revenue thresholds were maintained. It was in writing, signed by the CFO at the time, Richard Stevens, a retired Army colonel who understood the value of having military personnel in key positions. Dated and filed with HR, all official and above board. For years, it didn't matter, because there was no merger talk. The company was doing fine, growing steadily, no drama. Then in early 2024, things started changing. New leadership came in. The CEO retired and they brought in Brad Thompson, ex-consultant type, very polished, very corporate. You know the kind. Expensive suit, perfect teeth, talks about synergies and optimization every chance he gets. Within a few months, Brad brought in his own people. That's when Diana Walsh showed up as VP of Finance, along with a couple other executives I didn't recognize. All young, all MBAs, all speaking the same corporate buzzword language that made my skin crawl. These people had never spent a day in uniform, never had to make decisions where failure meant people died, but they were going to teach us old-timers how to run things efficiently. The energy shifted pretty quickly. Lots of closed-door meetings, restructuring talk, optimization initiatives. You know the drill. Suddenly, every process that had been working fine for years needed to be streamlined or modernized. They brought in consultants to analyze workflows that we'd perfected through actual experience. It reminded me of when the Pentagon would send fresh academy graduates to tell seasoned NCOs how to do their jobs. Around May, rumors started that we were in acquisition talks with a larger firm. Nobody confirmed it publicly, but you could feel it in the air. People were nervous, having whispered conversations by the coffee machine, updating their LinkedIn profiles. I wasn't too worried because I had that retention agreement. If a merger happened, I'd be compensated for staying on. In June, we closed Q2. I hit every single target and then some. Revenue from my contracts was up 12%. Client satisfaction scores were solid. We had a 98% uptime rating across all classified systems, which in government contracting is practically unheard of. My team delivered 5 major security implementations on time with 0 critical incidents. One of those implementations was for a new Special Operations Command Center that required security protocols so tight that even I couldn't access certain sections without dual authorization. I documented everything in our quarterly review system and submitted it to Luis Rodriguez, my direct supervisor. Luis is a good guy, former Marine who understood the value of detailed documentation. He approved everything within 48 hours. A few days later, I got email confirmation that my performance bonus, $5,000 to $2,000, had been approved and would be processed with the next payroll cycle. I felt good about that. I'd earned every penny. In the military, we believe in meritocracy. You do the job, you get the recognition. Simple as that. Then I got the calendar invite. The meeting started a few minutes after 10. I walked into conference room B, one of those interior rooms with no windows, just beige walls and fluorescent lighting that made everyone look sick. Luis was already there, sitting on one side of the table, looking uncomfortable. Diana Walsh was across from him, wearing a navy blue power suit and an expression that reminded me of officers who enjoyed delivering bad news. She didn't look up when I walked in, just kept typing on her laptop like I wasn't worth acknowledging. In the Navy, we call that a power play, and it told me everything I needed to know about how this meeting was going to go. I sat down. Luis gave me this tight smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Thanks for coming, Ryan." "Sure," I said. "What's going on?" Diana finally looked up from her laptop. She folded her hands on the table like she was conducting a board meeting and said very evenly, "We're making some adjustments to the Q2 bonus structure." I felt my jaw tighten slightly, but I kept my expression neutral. 20 years of military discipline teaches you to control your reactions, especially when someone's trying to get a rise out of you. What kind of adjustments? Due to budgetary reallocations in preparation for upcoming organizational changes, we've decided to revise the performance bonus payouts for this quarter. I noticed she didn't say reduce or cut. She said revise, corporate speak at its finest. Revise how? Luis shifted in his seat like he wanted to be anywhere else. "Ryan, your performance this quarter was excellent." "That's not in question." But the company's in a transitional phase, and leadership has decided to redirect some of the allocated bonus funds toward other strategic initiatives. Strategic initiatives, another fancy way of saying they were taking my money and spending it on something else. I stared at Luis, someone I'd worked with for 8 years, someone I'd considered a friend. So what does that mean? Diana slid a sheet of paper across the table with the kind of practiced movement that told me she'd done this before. It means your bonus for Q2 is being adjusted to $18,000 instead of the previously approved $52,000. I looked down at the paper. Clean white letterhead, official company logo, my name typed in Times New Roman. The new amount, $18,000. A reduction of $34,000, just gone with a few keystrokes. I looked back up at Diana. She was watching me carefully, probably looking for signs of anger or desperation. But I'd learned a long time ago not to give people the satisfaction of seeing me react to their provocations. This was already approved, I said calmly. It was provisionally approved, she replied. Final disbursements are subject to executive discretion. Executive discretion. I repeated those words in my head, tasting how bitter they sounded. In the military, when someone made you a promise, they kept it. Your word was your bond. But apparently in the corporate world, a signed approval was just a suggestion. I hit every target. I said, "You're telling me that doesn't matter?" Luis jumped in quickly, probably hoping to smooth things over. "It matters, Ryan. It absolutely matters. But the company's priorities have shifted, and we need to be flexible during this transition period." Flexible, right? Funny how flexibility always seemed to work in the company's favor. Never the employees. "And where's the $34,000 going?" I asked. Diana's expression didn't change. Cold, professional, completely unmoved by the fact that she was casually stealing more than half a year's salary from someone who'd earned it. That's not really relevant to this discussion. I sat there for a moment, just processing what was happening. My first reaction was disbelief. These people were actually serious. They were going to look me in the eye and take money I'd already earned. Money that was rightfully mine, and there wasn't a damn thing I could do about it. Or so they thought. I took a deep breath and pulled from my military training. In the Navy, when you're facing a crisis, you don't react emotionally. You gather intelligence, assess the situation, and plan your response. "Can I see the documentation for this decision?" Diana frowned slightly. "The documentation?" "Yeah," I said. "The internal memo, the budget reallocation report, whatever justification you're using for this. I'd like to see it." Luis shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Ryan, I don't think I'm entitled to see the reasoning behind a compensation change," I interrupted, keeping my voice calm and level, "especially one that's retroactive to work I've already completed." Diana stared at me for a long moment. I could see her calculating, trying to figure out if I was just fishing or if I actually knew something. "We'll provide that to you in due course. For now, this is the decision." I nodded slowly, still maintaining that calm exterior while my mind was racing. "Okay. And if I don't agree to this, then we can discuss your future with the company," Diana said flatly. There it was, the threat, not even subtle about it. "Sign this paper and take your reduced bonus, or we'll find a way to get rid of you entirely." It was the kind of corporate strong-arming that would have worked on most people, but they were dealing with someone who'd spent 2 decades navigating military bureaucracy and office politics. I looked at Luis. He wouldn't meet my eyes, just stared down at his hands like they were the most fascinating things he'd ever seen. I realized in that moment that Luis had probably been given the same treatment: take the company line or find yourself looking for a new job. I stood up slowly. "I'll need some time to think about this." Diana leaned back in her chair with the kind of satisfied expression that told me she thought she'd won. "You have until end of business Friday to sign the revised agreement. If you don't sign, we'll assume you're declining the adjusted bonus entirely." I picked up the paper, folded it once with deliberate precision, and walked out without another word. I went back to my desk and just sat there for a while. I didn't open my laptop. I didn't check email. I just stared at that folded paper and tried to process what had just happened. Around me, the office hummed with its usual activity. People typing, phones ringing, the low murmur of conversations. Normal business sounds, but nothing felt normal anymore. $52,000. That wasn't just money. That was validation. Recognition for a job well done. It was proof that my work mattered, that my expertise had value. And they were just taking it because they could, because they thought I had no recourse. I pulled out my phone and called my wife Amanda. She picked up after 2 rings, and just hearing her voice helped steady me. "Hey," she said, "how's your morning?" "Not great," I said, and I told her everything. The surprise meeting, Diana Walsh's cold dismissal, the reduction, the ultimatum. Amanda listened without interrupting, one of the many reasons I'd married her 18 years ago. When I finished, there was a long pause. Then she said, "Can they do that?" "I don't know," I admitted. "Apparently they think they can. What are you going to do?" I looked at that folded paper again. "I'm going to read my contract." I left the office around noon and drove home to our house in the suburbs. Amanda was there working from her home office where she managed IT systems for a local hospital. I went into our study, opened the filing cabinet where we kept all our important documents, and pulled out my employment contract. The pages were slightly yellowed. I hadn't looked at it in years. I spread it out on the desk and started reading, really reading, for the first time since I'd signed it. Most of it was standard stuff, job responsibilities, reporting structure, benefits package. But stapled to the back was that retention agreement from 2017, and as I read through it again, I started to remember why I'd insisted on including it in the first place. The agreement was clear. If the company underwent a change of control and I remained employed through the transition, I was entitled to a retention payment equal to 18 months of my base salary, plus additional percentages based on maintained client revenue. I did the math quickly. My current base salary was $150,000. 18 months of that was $225,000, plus the revenue percentage could potentially push it higher depending on how many contracts we maintained through the transition. But here's the thing. The agreement had a trigger clause. It only activated if a merger or acquisition was formally announced. And as far as I knew, nothing had been announced publicly. There were rumors, sure, but no official statement. I kept reading, going through every paragraph carefully. Then I found it buried in the middle of the document in language that was probably designed to be overlooked. It said that in the event the company attempted to reduce my compensation or terminate my employment without cause during the 12-month period preceding a change of control, the retention agreement would activate immediately, regardless of whether the change of control had been publicly announced. I read that paragraph 3 times to make sure I understood it correctly. Then I leaned back in my chair and started to smile for the first time since that morning. They had just cut my bonus. That definitely counted as a compensation reduction, and if they were preparing for a merger, which all the signs suggested they were, then according to the very contract they had signed, the retention agreement was now active. They had triggered it themselves. I didn't sign the revised bonus agreement. I didn't respond to Diana's follow-up email. I just waited, following that old Navy principle. When your enemy is making a mistake, don't interrupt them. Friday afternoon came and went. No follow-up call from Diana. No visit from Luis, nothing. Radio silence, which told me they thought the matter was closed. Then Monday morning arrived, and with it, the next phase of their mistake. I got an email from HR at 8:47 a.m. Subject line, final bonus agreement, action required. I opened it with genuine curiosity to see how far they were willing to push this. It was a formal notice saying that since I hadn't signed the revised agreement, they were processing my Q2 bonus as $0, not $18,000, zero, complete forfeiture. The email was polite but firm, written in that passive-aggressive corporate tone that tries to sound reasonable while delivering bad news. It said my non-response was interpreted as a declination of the adjusted terms, and therefore no bonus would be issued for the quarter. I sat back in my chair and actually laughed out loud. They had just made this so much easier for me. I forwarded the HR email to my personal account, then replied with one sentence, "Please confirm this is an official reduction of my previously approved compensation." They confirmed it within an hour. I saved that email too. At this point, I had a complete paper trail documenting their decision to eliminate my bonus entirely. They were building my case for me. Later that afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number, Ryan Mitchell. "Mr. Mitchell, this is Charles Morrison. I'm outside counsel for Blackstone Defense Systems. I've been asked to reach out to you regarding some concerns about your employment agreement." I leaned back in my chair, so they were bringing in the lawyers already. That told me they were more worried than they wanted to let on. "What concerns? The company is aware you have a retention agreement on file," he said carefully, "and they'd like to clarify the terms to avoid any potential misunderstandings." "What's there to clarify?" "It's pretty straightforward." There was a pause. "Mr. Mitchell, the company is currently evaluating several strategic options. And part of that evaluation involves reviewing legacy agreements to ensure they're still applicable under current circumstances. Legacy agreements. Like my contract was some outdated relic instead of a binding legal document. So you're saying my retention agreement might not be valid. I'm saying the company would like to discuss it with you before any formal actions are taken. What formal actions? Another pause, longer this time. That depends on the outcome of our discussion. I'd had enough of corporate doublespeak for 1 week. I think I'm going to need to consult with my own lawyer before we have that discussion. His tone shifted slightly, became more formal. That's certainly your right. However, I'd encourage you to consider the company's position carefully. There are implications to how this proceeds. Implications like what? He didn't answer directly, just said he'd follow up later in the week and hung up. I sat there for a moment, then called Kevin Parker, a lawyer I'd worked with years ago on a contract dispute with a vendor. Sharp guy, former JAG officer who understood how military minds worked. I explained the whole situation, the bonus reduction, the retention agreement, the call from Charles Morrison. He listened without interrupting, asking only a few clarifying questions. When I finished, he said, "Do you have copies of everything?" "Yeah." The original retention agreement, all the emails from HR, the revised bonus paperwork, everything. Good. Send it all to me. I'll review it tonight and call you in the morning. Kevin called me back at 7:30 the next morning, before I'd even left for work. "Ryan," he said, "this is actually pretty straightforward. They triggered your retention agreement the moment they reduced your compensation. If they're negotiating a merger, which everything suggests they are, then you're entitled to that payout whether it's been publicly announced or not. How much are we talking about? Based on what you sent me, around $225,000, give or take. Maybe more if your client revenue numbers hold up through the transition." I took a deep breath. "But they're going to fight this." "Oh, absolutely. They'll argue the reduction was within their discretion, that the retention agreement doesn't apply, that there's no merger in progress. But here's the thing, they're panicking. If they were confident in their legal position, they wouldn't have had their lawyer call you. They'd just ignore you. What do you recommend? Let me send them a formal notice. Outline your position. Make it clear you understand your rights and see how they respond. Sometimes a well-crafted legal letter can resolve things without having to file suit." Kevin's letter went out that afternoon. Professional firm, citing specific contract language and legal precedents. It requested confirmation that the company would honor the retention agreement terms and suggested that their recent compensation reduction had triggered the relevant clauses. The response came back within 24 hours, and it wasn't from Charles Morrison. It was from Diana Walsh herself. Short email, very direct. The company disputed my interpretation of the retention agreement and did not believe the recent bonus adjustment constituted a triggering event. Furthermore, if I continued to pursue the matter, they would consider it a breach of my employment obligations and take appropriate action. I forwarded it to Kevin immediately. His response was swift. "Okay, now I'm convinced they're in trouble," he said when he called. That's not how confident legal teams respond to contract disputes. That's desperation. What makes you say that? They're threatening you directly instead of going through proper legal channels. Companies don't do that unless they're worried about exposure they can't control. The next day, I got an unexpected call from Luis Rodriguez. He sounded stressed, almost frantic. "Ryan, can we talk? Off-site. I mean, coffee shop or somewhere private?" We met that afternoon at a cafe downtown, away from anyone who might know us. Luis looked like he hadn't slept in days. "This situation is getting out of hand," he said after we'd ordered. "I need you to know there's a lot happening behind the scenes." I waited for him to continue. "The merger is real, Ryan. Final negotiations with Titan Aerospace. $42 million deal that's supposed to close by the end of the month." He looked around nervously, then leaned forward. "And here's the thing, part of the deal requires maintaining key operational staff through the transition. You're on that list, so they need me to stay. They need you to stay, but Diana's been pushing to renegotiate all the retention agreements before the deal closes. She thinks they're too expensive and wants to eliminate them entirely." I felt pieces clicking into place. "So they're trying to force me out before the merger so they don't have to pay the retention. That's what I think. Yeah. But Ryan, if they lose you before this deal closes..." He trailed off. "What? The security protocols, the classified system access, the client relationships. If you're not here to manage the transition, the whole thing could fall apart. And if it does, a lot of people lose their jobs. I understood what he was telling me. I had leverage I hadn't even fully realized. Lewis, can I ask you something? Do they actually have a way to access the security systems without me? He shook his head slowly. That's the problem. You built those systems. You're the only one with full administrative access to the classified protocols. If you're not here to hand that over properly, the merger fails. The merger fails. I drove home that night with a plan forming in my mind. Kevin had been right. They were desperate. And desperate people make mistakes. It was time to show them exactly how big a mistake they'd made. The next morning, I called Kevin and told him I was ready to play hardball. Here's what I learned from this whole experience. When you're dealing with people who think they can push you around, sometimes the best move is to let them keep talking until they reveal just how much they need you. The corporate world might not operate on military principles, but the fundamentals are the same. Know your position, document everything, and never negotiate from weakness when you're actually holding all the cards.